A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. So in this video, I wanted to make it in English because I saw an already existing Urdu video by by Professor Abu Yahya, and it was very enlightening about the last 10 days of Hajj, which we are in right now. Although this is a very delayed video, but anyways, better late than never. So in that, he explains a very interesting perspective of looking at these 10 days, because when you think of it that way, you will not just do the good deeds of these 10 days in just these 10 days. It might just change your life. So what is it? So firstly, he says basically you need to get into the spirit of worship that is happening in the days of Hajj, right? So it's firstly, it's in a congregation, right? It's a group worship. Millions of people are doing it together. Either millions of people are going towards that worship, or they are doing it at home, like you and I, inshallah, right? And um, and if you look at what is the spirit that we learn of Hajj from Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, and that is that I am going to dedicate my life to my creator. I will sacrifice whatever it takes, and I will fight the enemy of mankind all my life. I will declare war against him, which is shaitan, right? And this is, and when millions of Hajis, Muslims, they are pelting the pillars of the shaitan in Hajj, that is the manifestation of the spirit, that I am going to live my life in a way that I'm always fighting this shaitan. Now, what is this shaitan? Now, Allah says in ayah number 197, uh, Surah Baqarah. So he prohibits the Hajis, like people who do Hajj, from doing three things, right? And that is what we should also focus on in these 10 days, holistically. Allah says, don't do rafasa, wala fusuka, or fisk, or jidal. Now, what are these? Let's look at them briefly. Rafasa is basically don't engage in any illegitimate sexual actions that are not ordained by Allah. So in Hajj, for example, as a husband and wife can also not engage in any acts which are generally halal. Secondly, fisk. Fisk is do not. It's basically disobedience to Allah, right? So do not disobey the rights of Allah, basically, which involves um, any action that is done for Allah. For example, namaz, salah, fasting, and also it involves all actions that are pertaining to the Sharia, you know. Then lastly, Allah says, and don't do jidal. Jidal is basically argumentations, fighting with other people, right? And this is basically more. So, what are these three from the perspective of? If you look at it, jidal is from the perspective of human rights, or hakukul abad, as we say. Why do you fight people? Because if you take away somebody's right, if you make somebody angry, do something that hurts somebody, that's when you will get into a fight. That's when you will be in an argument. So take care of people, mend your relationships, and do not get into jidal. Number two, fisk, right? We already discussed that, but that is about the rights of Allah. And lastly, another perspective of rafasa is basically lust. So these are the three things. Now, the Haji people are already doing this because it's a direct command from Allah to them to do to not do these things in Hajj. But what about us who are not there? In these 10 days, we can also adopt an attitude that we are going to pelt the shaitan of this. And even the Hajis, when they are pelting the shaitan, so when they're pelting the first shaitan, every time they throw a pebble, a conquer, they're like, I will not do fisk, I will not disobey Allah. Then the other one, and every time you throw the stone, this is what the spirit should be. I am not going to engage in rafasa, I am not going to engage in jidal, I am going to keep away from these things in Hajj all my life. So in while they're doing that, we should also be pelting the shaitan here. And how do we pelt the shaitan in our life here in these 10 days? By making sure that we don't do fisk. So every time you, let's say, offer salah, you are pelting the shaitan of fisk. Every time you refrain your gaze from something shameful, you are pelting the shaitan of rafasa. Every time you keep your mouth shut and don't talk back to somebody, or control yourself and don't get into an argument, even though when you know you can win it, you are pelting the shaitan of Jidal. So very interesting. So this is a spirit that you should have in the we should have in these 10 days. And it's not just for this, it's also about adopting this perspective for life, like Hazrat Ibrahim adopted it for life. And this is how we should also do, because this is basically a declaration that in our life we are at war with Shaitan, and he has already has put on his armor and he's at it, and he's in this field for since the beginning of mankind. And according to Abu Yahya, we should also, gear up and get into this mindset that we are at an all-out war for the rest of our lives, and we should fight it. So if we just think of these days as this, I think for me at least it was very enlightening that yes, this is our life. These are the three main things that we have to fight and pelt, and that's what Shaitan will always incite us towards, and that is what we have to physically pelt and make effort to walk away from. So I pray that Allah accepts our 10 days of Zilhajj, of especially all the Hajjis who went there. Allah accepts their Hajj, inshallah. And those who could not go and who were trying to do good deeds in these 10 days, may Allah accept our deeds as well and forgive us and enter us all into Jannah and give us the strength to, you know, to pelt, to stone any kind of attack of Shaitan very with ease. Amin.